PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we're going to be breaking down the most recent game of the Vegas Golden Knights season 2023-2024. This is going to be a really good matchup, and this is something that we're really excited to talk about. Game 2 of a 4-game road stand for your Vegas Golden Knights. So a lot of action and stuff that we're going to be breaking down here on our show tonight. So I appreciate everyone coming in and helping us and watching the show. So, what game are we talking about? We're talking about the Vegas Golden Knights going over to Canada, taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is going to be the second game of a 2-game season series in the regular season between Toronto and Vegas. And this was a matchup that when you really sit here and analyze it, considering what happened last time, all right, considering the bruises and really the bad memories of what happened the last time Toronto took on Vegas, there was a lot of people who were wondering, how would Vegas react? How would your Golden Knights be able to really handle Toronto, considering the fact that they lost by 4 goals in their most recent matchup they did last week? Well, we'll be talking about all of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub, here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Check out the website, by the way, as we have about a dozen shows on the network, including Vegas Hockey Hub. So I would say go to PR Connections Radio and check out all of the content on there. Go to our social media pages at PR Connections, or if you want to follow just the show, at Vegas Hockey Hub. And also, if you want to help support your host, I am on all social media platforms at Ian J. Rachiele, and I write articles, and I do hockey articles on thesportsangle.com. So if you want to go to www.thesportsangle.com and read the hockey articles that I put up on there, been doing it for the last 4 years, so that's something that we do on the side alongside Vegas Hockey Hub. So I highly recommend checking those out and supporting your host if you can. Now, this game is really fun and really fascinating to talk about, and I'm happy to do it with every single one of you who is watching the broadcast tonight. So getting into the action of this game, doing the pregame notes, there is, with the trade deadline about to kick off about a week from now, there was a rumor that has come around and surfaced that we do have to discuss. So the Vegas Golden Knights and Pittsburgh Penguins, there has been talk about a trade between the two. So Jake Guentzel, who is a really good forward, top 6 guy for the Pittsburgh Penguins, a hurt guy with the Pittsburgh Penguins. There has been speculation and a report has come out, and the Vegas Golden Knights and Pittsburgh Penguins could possibly do a trade where Jake Guentzel and his contract would go to Vegas, and then Vegas would give up some valuable assets. A pick and a prospect would go to Pittsburgh in the deal. Now, I do have to mention that when it comes to Guentzel, this is a guy who, yes, he is extremely talented. All right, do not get that wrong. Extremely talented guy. But let me get this straight. So this is a guy who is going to be, he's good at age. He has a couple years left on his deal. But you're going to have him be on long-term IR for a while. I mean, this guy's not going to be back in the NHL. He's not going to be skating for any time soon. So essentially, you're trading him to get the cap space to essentially put him on long-term IR. And look, I'm not for it. I'm not against it. Overall, when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, Kelly McCrimmon, George McPhee, Bill Foley, you know what you are doing, okay? I trust you on that front. But when it comes to Jake Guentzel, this is somebody who's a former Stanley Cup champion. We understand that. But you have to understand that if this guy does get healthy and he eventually plays later in the year, wouldn't people be accusing Vegas even more of abusing the salary cap? Wouldn't this just be another indication of Vegas using long-term IR to their advantage and the rest of the league complaining about it? Now, trust me, I don't care. Okay, when it comes to the cap, the Blackhawks started doing it in the mid 2010s. The Penguins did it. The Lightning did it. The Maple Leafs are doing it now. Who are facing at the moment. Everyone will do it as long as they win a Stanley Cup. Okay, it's the teams that don't win a cup who complain about the teams that are winning cups. So for Jake Gunzel, if he does get traded and he does go to Vegas, I will not complain. The only thing I have to mention is what you would have to give up in order to get him. Because when it comes to Gunzel, I would say you probably would have to give up. You probably have to give up a prospect, a really good prospect. You have to give up probably one draft pick in 2024, and then you'd have to give up a contract of equal value. That seems to be like kind of fair in that situation. If you're going to get a guy of his caliber and somebody who last season, and just for comparison, last season scored 73 points and had over 30 goals in the last 2 seasons in Pittsburgh, you're probably going to have to give up some good value to get him. So when it comes to Vegas Golden Knights, I have no indication on if this is going to happen. Personally, when it comes to the NHL trade deadline, I've been saying it for a while. Vladimir Tarasenko, he's been popping up on the radar. Jake Gunzel, he just popped up on the radar. I think Anthony Duclair would be a good idea out there in San Jose, a middle 6 forward. Jordan Eberle would be a really good option. Pavel Buchnevich is someone who's been rumored to possibly come to Vegas. I'm an Anthony Mantha guy. I think that what he could bring to the team and the organization out there in Washington, that'd be a good move for Vegas. But, overall, the 2 big names that keep being surfaced and keep being linked to the Vegas Golden Knights is Vladimir Tarasenko in Ottawa and Jake Gunzel in Pittsburgh. So, whatever happens, happens. I say getting a middle 6 forward would help the Vegas Golden Knights very well outside of a top 6 forward. But you know what? That's just your host, Ian Rachiele's opinion. Kelly McCrimmon and Bill Foley and George McPhee, they know best, and they're the team to help build this roster. So I would trust their opinion and their outlook way more than somebody else's. And that was kind of the pregame notes. Now the practice notes are very important because for the first time since his injury in Boston, Jack Eichel is skating around for your Vegas Golden Knights. So Jack Eichel in a red jersey while they were preparing for the Toronto Maple Leafs game. So Jack Eichel looks like he might be coming back soon with your Golden Knights organization. Now, if I had to speculate and I had to kind of put the pieces together, it's either going to be Columbus or maybe Vancouver, because those are really the 2 games coming up that I could see happen. Boston, it would have been maybe a possibility if he was in a red jersey against Ottawa, but since he wasn't, he's being in a red jersey now, I don't think they're going to fast track him to be back in the game against Boston, his hometown. Buffalo, that seems like a good idea, but because the Golden Knights are who they are, I will not be surprised if they hold off on him making his return against Buffalo and plays against Columbus instead. In net for your Vegas Golden Knights, Adin Hill. So Adin Hill gets a chance to redeem himself after a horrible first period against Toronto in their most recent matchup. He'll be back in the game going up against Toronto in this matchup. So overall, really good situation there. And we want to see how Adin Hill does. His last couple of starts have not been promising for Vegas. So he's going to have to get back in the win column and get back on the right track with your Vegas Golden Knights. So Adin Hill, I like what we have seen from him to begin the year. He's had a little bit of a slide recently, but it's okay because we're trying to see how Adin Hill performs tonight as he goes back and takes on the Toronto Maple Leafs 1 week after his very abysmal performance that he had at T-Mobile Arena when Toronto came to Vegas. So Adin Hill coming in, that's good there, and we would have to wait and see how he does in this game. So getting into the game itself. Now, the first period of this game was not much to talk about as there was no scoring between either team. And there was only one penalty in the first period. With about 2 minutes left, Bobby McMahon would have a tripping penalty against Nick Hague. So the Vegas Golden Knights would go to the power play for the first time in this matchup. And the Vegas Golden Knights would actually not get an advantage and would not score against the Toronto Maple Leafs here. So it would be a 0-0 game after the first period. So unfortunately, very underwhelming situation there. Really nothing that you could talk about from that first period. But because there's so much action in the second, third, and definitely towards the end of the game, there's a lot to talk about. Now, there was one scoring opportunity in the first period I do have to acknowledge. Alex Pietrangelo, he was in the high slot, and he did have a good opportunity against Samsonov, but it just went wide left. So it remained at 0-0 for your Vegas Golden Knights there. So your Golden Knights at 0-0 towards the end of the first period. One part that I can appreciate, though, was the energy level. The team was hustling very well, the efficiency. They were kind of, not making many mistakes in the neutral zone, taking advantage of mistakes that the other team was doing, and getting back into the offensive zone very quickly. So when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, that is a very fortunate situation that we saw that the Vegas Golden Knights were taking advantage of and being able to execute off of mistakes, off of turnovers. If there was a bad pass and a good redirect, there was Vegas right there to capitalize on it. So really good overall in the first period. Solid job there by Vegas. I like what we saw in that matchup there. Now, moving over to the second period, this is where the action really started to heat up here, as TJ Brody would get a holding penalty towards the beginning of the second period. Your Vegas Golden Knights would get on the power play, and despite an opportunity from William Karlsson that just was a bit short, your Vegas Golden Knights would stay at 0-0 once the penalty got killed off. However, good news for Vegas would come, as that they had a really good opportunity. They had a good execution, and towards halfway into the second period, there would be a goal scored from somebody who has been executing really well over the past month. Somebody in the middle of the second period would take advantage and be able to execute and get the puck in the back of the net, get it past Ilya Samsonov, and get a 1-0 game for your Vegas Golden Knights, as Ivan Barbashev, with his 14th goal of the season, assisted by Shea Theodore and Michael Amadio, to put the Golden Knights up at 1-0. So really good situation there. I like the setup, by the way, from Amadio. There was a good execution there to get it to Barbashev and connect and get a goal for Vegas. I mean, Ivan Barbashev had such a slow start in October. There was questions about would he still be a first-line winger. But over the last month, what he has done with Jonathan Marchessault, the way he's been able to connect with Nick Waugh, who has been promoted while Jack Eichel's been out. You have seen that Michael Amadio and William Karlsson and Chandler Stevenson, regardless of what line mates he has in the lineup, Ivan Barbashev has been able to connect and execute in this season. So despite a slow first month, he has rebounded really well. Good job there. Ivan Barbashev, 14th of the season. And then your Vegas Golden Knights would capitalize once again, as really good situation would kick off, as your bottom six would score here in Vegas, as Mason Morelli with his second goal of the season. This is going to be his first goal since his debut in San Jose a while back. So second goal of the season for him, assisted by Sheldon Rempel and Shea Theodore. So second assist of the game for Shea, and it would be a 2-0 game for your Vegas Golden Knights. Mason Morelli has been a good addition to the bottom six because of injuries to Dorofeev, Carrier, due to injuries to Brett Howden. Your bottom six has gotten really thin, and they've had to use AHL guys. You've had Bryson, you've had Fraze, you've had guys like Sheldon Rempel who got the assist here. But Mason Morelli has really stepped up as an AHL guy playing in the NHL. Now, obviously, when Carrier comes back, when Howden comes back, when eventually Dorofeev comes back, we don't know when that will be a situation where some of these AHL guys will be inevitably sent down to the AHL. I think Morelli will probably be one of those guys who does get sent down. But overall, a really good job this year. I like what we saw from Morelli and his energy and his hustle, by the way. He's quick. He is really a guy who can get down the ice at a good speed when it comes to Mason Morelli. So overall, a bottom six guy. He's made some contributions, and he has contributed to the success of the bottom six this season, made it one of the best in the NHL. So Mason Morelli, second goal of the season, made it 2-0 for Vegas. And then there would be a penalty situation for your Vegas Golden Knights, as Bobby McMahon would get a delay of game penalty towards a little bit later. And the Vegas Golden Knights would not capitalize on that situation, unfortunately. So your Vegas Golden Knights would start out 0-3 on the power play. Not that great in terms of performance. And then for the first time in this game, your Vegas Golden Knights would be getting on the penalty kill, as Michael Amadio would go to the penalty box with an interference penalty. So your Vegas Golden Knights get on the penalty kill, and fortunately for Vegas, they would be able to kill that off, and it would be a 2-0 game for Vegas. So about a minute later, there would actually be some bad news for Vegas and good news for the hometown crowd, as you would have a second-generation guy, someone who's very familiar with the NHL, Tyler Bertuzzi, with his 11th goal of the season, assisted by William Nylander and Jake McCabe to be a 2-1 game. So just like that, Vegas' lead gets shrunk down to 1. And Tyler Bertuzzi, who a lot of people know has a family connection to Todd Bertuzzi, the former Anaheim Duck back in the day. And when it comes to Tyler Bertuzzi, he's done a really good job since coming over from the Detroit Red Wings. He was kind of an off-season acquisition by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is just a situation where I don't fault Aiden Hill for this. This was just a lucky opportunity there. Good job by Bertuzzi. And that was a 2-1 game for Vegas over Toronto. So, Jake McCabe, William Nylander with the assist. By the way, William Nylander, 48 assists on the year. Have to give props to him there. He's doing pretty well. But back to the positives for your Vegas Golden Knights. As with about half a minute left in the second period, they would get back on the board as Wild Bill, William Karlsson, 20th goal of the season. Congratulations to him on hitting the 20-goal mark. And assisted by his longtime line mate, Jonathan Marchessault. So Vegas would be up by 2 at this point. So congratulations, William Karlsson, 20th goal of the season. And he was really the star of the game. We'll go over player of the game later for sure. But William Karlsson was everywhere in this game. He was impactful. He was making all of these moves throughout this entire game. I mean, this is the same William Karlsson that on the stat sheet was everywhere. 2-point night. He had 3 shots on net. He had 3 blocked shots, by the way. And he had 3 hits and a couple of takeaways. So overall, William Karlsson had a fantastic night for Vegas. Now, as you got towards the end of the second period, Vegas being up by 2, that is solid by them. You also have to give credit to the penalty kill for Vegas, because them being 1 for 1 on the penalty kill at that point, that's a good job by them. Now, the power play was a bit suspect. I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't, as your Vegas Golden Knights would actually go 0 for 5 on the power play. So I don't know if Bruce Cassidy needs to make some changes on the special teams there. But yeah, overall, your Vegas Golden Knights, 0 for 5 on the power play, but 1 for 1 on the penalty kill. Good job by them. I like the discipline by Vegas, allowing Toronto to make mistakes for them, and Vegas not falling for the trap and getting into the bait of causing penalties and opportunities for Toronto. Now, moving on to the third period. Now, the only penalty that you would have is a Mitch Marner tripping penalty against Chandler Stevenson. So that would be the only opportunity. Vegas would not score on this power play opportunity. But what would be done by your Vegas Golden Knights is that halfway through the third period, your Vegas Golden Knights would get back on the board. They would open this lead back up to 3, and it would be done by who else but a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer in Vegas Golden Knights history. This is going to be a guy who's going to be in the Ring of Honor. This is going to be a guy who's going to have his jersey retired someday. I have no doubt in my mind. His jersey will be retired at T-Mobile Arena when his career is up. This is the guy who leads the organization in goals right now. He is kind of leading the team in almost every important category offensively. Most offensive statistics, he's doing pretty well. And, of course, I'm talking about number 81, Jonathan Marchessault. And with an assist by his line mate and the guy he helped out in the second period, William Karlsson. So, William Karlsson, Jonathan Marchessault, for the second time in this game, connected and was a 4-1 in the middle of the third period. I really like what Jonathan Marchessault did in this game. I was really impressed with what William Karlsson did in this performance. And it just really reminded you of back in the day, the 1971-81, line. I kind of miss, part of me does miss the KMS line or the SMK line. All right, Smith, Marchessault, Karlsson. Okay, I will admit I do miss that line. I wish Riley Smith was still here as a fan, but having Marchessault and Karlsson with a 2-goal performance, really solid job there. But it would not be done, as unfortunately Toronto would get back on the board, but it would be by a kind of familiar face. As with about 5 minutes left in the third period, Ryan Reeves, Revo, with his third goal of the season, assisted by Pontus Holmberg, and it would be a 4-2 game. Toronto trying to stay in the fight, trying to keep with it, but Ryan Reeves scoring goals, I mean, you don't see that too often, considering what he is there to do. But yeah, Ryan Reeves, familiar face, long-time Vegas Golden Knight. He was here for a couple of years. And I would not be lying, and I would be lying to you if I said the Golden Knights fans still don't miss Revo. There's some people who wish they could bring him back on a 1-year veterans deal. But Ryan Reeves in Toronto, third goal of the season with 5 minutes left. And then one of the weirdest penalties I have seen in the NHL this season, with about 2 minutes left in the game, head coach Sheldon Keefe of the Toronto Maple Leafs would get a game misconduct for arguing with the referee. So he would be arguing with the referee. He was talking very loudly. He was yelling at them. So the referee said, "Whack, you're gone." And Sheldon Keefe would be ejected with a game misconduct. So that's one of the rare opportunities that we have seen. I know Paul Maurice had one in Winnipeg a long time ago. I think John Tortorella even got ejected one time. It was either in Vancouver or Calgary. But I just always remember how rare it is to see a coach get ejected in an NHL game. So yeah, Sheldon Keefe ejected with about 2 minutes left in the game. And that was convenient for Vegas, as Toronto would pull the empty net, and Jonathan Marchessault with his second goal of the game, and would be assisted by Alex Pietrangelo. And that would be a 5-2 matchup. Vegas Golden Knights, that would be taking care of business and getting the job done. So Jonathan Marchessault, second goal of the game. And this is somebody who, like I said, has been a fantastic player this season. He has been really throughout a rough patch in the Golden Knights this past month. He has been a bright spot. And I have no doubt in my mind when Jack Eichel comes back, the Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault line is going to be running on all cylinders. But are we done, though? Like, you look at the score there. It says 5-2 Vegas. But there's still a minute and a half left to play. So did Toronto pull their goalie one more time? No. Did Vegas score one more goal? Yes. And what happened is that with half a minute left in the game, Nick Waugh with his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Shea Theodore and Braden McNabb. So Shea Theodore, who had, by the way, a 3-assist night on this performance, so half of these goals he was a part of, and Braden McNabb, my favorite player of the organization, Nabber, as people call him, good assist by him there. And then Nick Waugh kind of helping out the organization by getting the puck in the back of the net with half a minute left and making it a final score of 6-2 for your Vegas Golden Knights. So just like that, your Vegas Golden Knights would pick up the win in Toronto, and it would be a fantastic victory. And considering the revenge and the fact that we lost 7-3 and we lost by 4, to beat Toronto 6-2 and beat them by 4 was revenge indeed. So this was definitely a very fulfilling game, a very happy game for Golden Knights fans all around the world, and a good victory for Vegas. Now, here is the win-loss record for your Vegas Golden Knights heading into kind of the last stretch of the season. Now, you have the Boston Bruins, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Columbus Blue Jackets that are coming up next. So it'll be interesting to see how the Vegas Golden Knights do on this road stand to kind of finalize this out before you head home to the Vancouver Canucks. That's going to be a fun matchup there. And right now, you're still battling with Edmonton. It seems like it's going to be a 2-versus-3 battle at this moment in time. Vancouver kind of establishing themselves at the top of the Pacific Division. Player of the game and the guy who's going to be in the title of this video, William Karlsson, Wild Bill, as the player of the game. This guy, like I said, was everywhere. He blocked shots. He did hits. He was doing takeaways. William Karlsson did a fantastic job in this game tonight. And it's also the same William Karlsson that won 10 faceoffs in this game as well. So in terms of execution, in terms of just doing everything on the ice tonight, William Karlsson, player of the game, really solid job there. But I have to give props, like I normally do, and I have to give props to Shea Theodore, a 3-assist night for Shea. And also considering what else he did in this game, he had 3 block shots, and he also had about 3 shots on net in this game. So overall, Shea Theodore, 22 minutes ice time. He did a stellar job for Vegas. And I have to include this because it is a milestone, but congratulations to your Vegas Golden Knights. Win 300 in franchise history. And no, I'm not going to make a Sparta joke. No, I'm not going to say, 300, this is Vegas. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I will say congratulations. 300 wins. That is an incredible milestone by your Vegas Golden Knights. One of the youngest teams to ever do it, by the way, in NHL history. So I have to say a round of applause and a congratulations to Bill Foley, George McPhee, and Kelly McCrimmon for doing what they have done the past 7 years. And the final note, kind of the cherry on top here, the Toronto Maple Leafs were entering this game on a 7-game winning streak. That has been snapped by your Vegas Golden Knights. So congratulatory there. I have to give a round of applause to your Vegas Golden Knights for doing what needed to be done, and that is snapping a 7-game win streak and making sure that Toronto picked up an L in this game. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. We'll be doing this for the Boston game. That's going to be coming up soon. And until next time, continue watching hockey. Go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.